Everybody, welcome to Gardening TLC. I am Michelle. Welcome to my channel. Today it is rainy and gloomy outside. We're going to do another design today in the front of the house. And it's kind of unique because half the bed is sun, half the bed is shade. It is also an exposed front porch, so that makes it a little bit different too. Hopefully this will give you some ideas, inspire you, or just make you want to get out in your garden and plant something. So let's go check this out. I live in Northern Illinois, Zone 5, and I am a retired landscape designer. I say that all the time, but I'm still out there sometimes doing designs and working on landscaping for people. I cherry pick kind of what I want to do every year, so I'm not actively running the landscape division of our company anymore, but I did it for 15 years, and what I've been doing is kind of going through my old designs, pulling them out and sharing them with you guys to hopefully give you some ideas and some inspiration for your own garden. Now, I do own a garden center, and I am a home gardener. If you've ever seen any of the tours that I've done around the store and around my house, hopefully those have inspired you as well. But without further ado, let's just jump right into the design. All right, so this is what we started with. It is an exposed front porch. The bed was kind of skinny and narrow, and it had that black edging on it. Oh, I hate that black edging. I would rather have a natural trenched edge every day of the week than have that black edging. I know a lot of people like it, but me, not so much. I think that the grass grows over it, under it, and it just doesn't do the job. And you hit it with a lawnmower every time I go to a house that has it. It's either broken, cracked, or something. So it's not something that I love to use, but if a homeowner makes me use it, I will absolutely use it if I have to. Now, what we did with this bed was we actually kept the grasses that you see starting all the way over on the right side, and we kept that gazing ball in there because it is absolutely beautiful. We did pull the daylily out, and we pulled those 3 scrubby looking bushes that were in front of the exposed porch, and we decided to dress it up a little bit. I also made the bed wider, so we pulled those scrubby bushes out, we pulled the black edging out, we reshaped the bed so that we could layer it a little bit. Now, one of the things that this homeowner wanted that I don't normally do is she really didn't want any evergreens. Now, I talked her into one, but she really wanted just more color and low growing things because she didn't want to block the view, and she didn't want anything to obscure that porch. Maybe just hide the little face of it, but she wanted that to be open, kind of like a picture frame. So I respected her wishes when I did the design. Now, over on the right side of the bed where all the grasses are, there's a lot of sun over there. There is a tree that sits in the front yard, but the way the bed or the house sits to the sun, the left side of the bed actually gets a lot more shade than the right side of the bed. So it was kind of interesting putting it together because we were able to use so many different things. So let's see what I did. We kept the general shape of the bed, but we just made it wider so that way we could layer some things in. And yes, I did add 2 boulders in there because I love fractured boulders, and it allowed us to create a really interesting vignette of different things around those boulders. So let's go through what I put in the bed. We are going to work from left to right, and we're going to start over on the left side. By the sidewalk, we did the Virginias and we did the winter glut. I like this one because it really gets a nice red color on the foliage in the fall. And when the leaves are emerging in the spring, they also have a nice red color on them. The flowers kind of come up above it, and I think it's kind of succulent-like. The foliage, they're like rubbery, and they always look really good and fresh, and I really like this. When the flowers are done, you just cut them off. This is one that's going to bloom early in the spring. They get 10 to 15 inches high, 14 inches wide. They're deer resistant, but even when the flowers are done, this is a nice front of the border plant to use if you want something that's really consistent as far as what that foliage looks like when it's done flowering. Now, I intermingled 2 different coral bells down there because I wanted to have a contrast in color. I did them around these beautiful black fractured boulders, and they had this nice veining that ran through them. I chose the plum pudding because 1, it's pretty inexpensive, and 2, they're easy to find, but they're really reliable, and they come back every single year. Sometimes I try some of these new heucheras, and here in Zone 5, sometimes they come back and sometimes they don't. I find that with both the citronella which is the other one that I used, and the plum pudding, they both come back. I also wanted them to be close to the same size. So these guys can grow 10 to 26 inches. And I know that's a big, wide range, but the more sun they get, the bigger they're going to get. The less sun, the smaller they're going to get. So the 26 inches is kind of on the big size for these. Most of them, I'd say, probably get around 18 inches high and 12 inches wide. This one has a really super nice color on it, and I love it when we paired it up with the next one. Isn't that awesome? I love the chartreuse color on the citronella heuchera. Now these guys both grow in zone 4 through 9, and you know, I never cut my heucheras back here in zone 5. I let them just hang out all winter with their foliage on them, and I just clean them up in the spring. I swear, every time I cut them back all the way to the ground, I lose them. And I really think by keeping it up, it protects the crown. I also have a tendency to kind of push some mulch up around the base of my heucheras in the winter, because I find that if we have a lot of freezing and thawing, they heave up out of the ground. So that's one of the reasons I lose them. And I find that with the citronella and the plum pudding, that doesn't seem to happen as often, but I do love the two of these together and the contrast of color with them in the garden bed. So we're still in the area where we're around the boulders and we're in front of the exposed porch, and we chose to do a Nepeta in here called Kit Kat. Now this one grows in zone 4 through 8. It only gets 12 to 15 inches high, so it's not really high, and I like this one because it's got a really soft lavender color on it. Gets about 2 feet wide, and we just used one kind of as a specimen plant right there. When you're sitting on the porch, you see this beautiful Nepeta in here. They bloom all summer long, and you cut them back after the first flush of flowers are done. And even if you don't, they still look good afterwards. But that was the flower that we chose because it had such a long bloom time on it, and it's one of the earliest perennials to show its foliage in the spring, and so I like that about it too. Now when I did this design, this was probably, I don't even know when I did this design, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, but one of the spireas that I really liked was one called Magic Carpet. Now the Magic Carpet spirea was really nice because they only got about 2 by 2, so they were this smaller spirea, and you didn't have to worry so much about the insides of it dying out and only getting leaves on the top of it, which is what a lot of spireas do. Especially if you don't give them that rejuvenation prune all the way to the ground, or like the size of a big beach ball every single year. They have a tendency to just get kind of rangy looking. Now, I always loved this one because what happens is when the new foliage starts to come out in the spring, it's red, and then it turns chartreuse, and then you get pink flowers on it. It's gorgeous. Now, if I had to do this bed today, I would probably choose the new Double Play Dolly by Proven Winners. It's about the same size, 2.5 by 2.5. But what I like about this one over the Magic Carpet is it's kind of a continuous bloomer all through the whole summer. Now, both of them are sterile. They don't produce any seeds that's going to make them spread. I really like the chartreuse color of the leaves on both of these, but the flowers on this dolly are, I think, a little bit more vibrant, a little bit more pink. So in this picture, you can see where they're just starting to open. They almost make me think of like a neon pink color when they're open. And the contrast against that chartreuse it's really quite spectacular. So I think you could use either spirea. I think that you could use the dolly or the Magic Carpet. I still am a fan of Magic Carpet, but boy, I'll tell you, Proven Winners has really done a nice job with breeding spireas, and I'm really liking all of the varieties that they're coming out with, and I am just a huge fan. Moving down the bed in front of that red gazing ball, we have decided to put some purple alliums. We use the Serendipity, which is from Proven Winners. These guys get 20 inches tall, about 15 inches wide. Again, it's another one of those early spring emergers, and the foliage on it comes up really early, looks good. While it's developing, it's going to bloom more towards the end of July, beginning of August. Gets those little purple billy balls on it, and they bloom for about 3 weeks. Really good pollinator attractor. Nice, steady, dependable. I really like alliums. I do use them a lot in designing, but oh, they're just so awesome. The one shrub I did talk her into is further down, so it's not in front of like the exposed porch part. We got it down further, kind of underneath the window, but offset a little bit. Part of the offset was because the grasses were already there and she wanted to keep those, so we wanted to make sure that whatever we put in, we didn't have to dig any of those up. I chose to use a bird's nest spruce because I love them, and it was easy for her because they're no prune. The foliage on this is absolutely fabulous because it gets this really bright green new growth on it in the spring. These guys have great cold tolerance all the way down to zone 2, which is super cold in the winter, up to zone 8. Also, they don't have to be pruned, and they look good all the time, and they kind of have a flat top and a rounded bottom. They are probably going to get 3 feet tall by 4 feet wide in 10 years. They're super slow growing. Now, they could go up to 5 or 6 feet high, and they could get as big as 6 feet wide, but it's probably going to take them 25 years to do that, and that would be in full sun all the time. This bed here on the left side gets more sun, but it's still only getting probably 8 hours, not like a full blasting, sun up to sundown kind of thing. The left side is getting, if I recall, it was like 4 to 6 is in the range, and it was morning sun and then got shaded over on that side, and then the sun just kept going on the other side. Oh, I found this picture of the foliage when it's that beautiful green color. Oh my gosh, isn't that gorgeous? I love this shrub just for the way it looks in the spring. It is so gorgeous. I have 2 at my house, and I have 3 of them growing here at the garden center. They're one of my favorite shrubs. Now, I used to plant Viette's Little Susies pretty exclusively. I really liked this Blackeyed Susan. In fact, I still do. Now, this one, what I like about it is the flowers are a little bit smaller, and the leaves on them are more elongated than they are round like the Goldstrom. And the Goldstrom has been around for a super long time. It's a meadow flower, but I really like the Viette's Little Susies. They have littler flowers on them, and I feel like they have more flowers on them. These guys get 18 to 24 inches high and wide, and I have seen them grow bigger than that. They will grow in clay. They do want full sun. I have grown these in part shade before, but they don't seem to do as well. I find that they really need all of the energy from the sun to do everything you want them to do. Now, the one thing that I like to do when I plant a lot of Blackeyed Susans together is I will go in, usually about the 2nd or 3rd week in June, I will go in and go with my shears or my pruners and cut half of the foliage in half. So I'm like just randomly going in my clump and cutting some of it down. What that does is it delays the bloom. So everything you didn't cut down grows up, it gets its flowers on it, and they bloom for 6 to 8 weeks. Then the ones that you went in and kind of cut in half, those are going to catch up. And when your blooms are ending from that first cycle, the second cutting or the second growth comes up and they start to bloom, and now you've extended your bloom time from 6 weeks to like 12 to 14 weeks because they just keep going. So I love that about Blackeyed Susans. I love them. I think that they're so sweet and they're so easy to grow. Now, the one thing I will say about Blackeyed Susan is wherever you're going to grow them, you want to make sure they have good airflow, they have good drainage. Even though they will grow very well in clay, they don't like standing water, so don't do that as far as putting them in the ground. They're not a bog plant. They grow in zone 4 through 8, and again, I really like the Viette's Little Susie. Last but not least, in the bed, she had Carl Forester grasses. So Carl Forester is a cool season grass, which means that it grows when it's cool out. They start to grow here in zone 5 right around the middle of April, and they grow while it's cool out because it's a cool season grass. It'll get its plumes on it usually sometime in June, and they come out like this almost almond green color, and then as they progress through the summer, they age to a wheat color. Now, they kind of go dormant in the heat of the summer. They don't really do a lot of growing. This is what we call like a smaller mid-sized grass. The centers don't die out. They're really hardy, really dependable, drought tolerant. You'll see them in parking lots and commercially in like commercial landscaping a lot because they're so easy to grow. And if you grow them in mass, they actually look really good. Now, I have seen these grown like one single plant as like a specimen plant. I don't know that that looks as good as when you grow them all together. She already had these, so we played them up and we put some Blackeyed Susans in front of them. All right, there you go, you guys. One design for you guys in the front of the house. Hopefully this inspires you to get out in your garden today. We have Garden Gab this Saturday at noon, so make sure you tune in for that. We will be answering all of the questions from April, and I'm going to share all of the pictures that you guys sent me about the beautiful things in your garden that you found in the month of April. Some of them are pretty awesome. So if you want to get in on that action, the second Saturday of every month is Garden Gab, and I answer the questions from the previous month's videos. Now, while I'm answering these questions, I am sharing the pictures that you guys are sending me from something in your garden from the month that we're in. So right now, May. We're in May. If you got something beautiful in your garden, and my goodness, everybody should probably have something beautiful in their garden in May, send me a picture in a landscape format and we'll share those while we're doing Garden Gab. I love seeing all of the gardens and all of the things that you guys are doing because it inspires me. So you guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope you get in your garden today. I hope you're having a great day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, everybody.